Welcome to today's part of the Aposphere Insight tutorial series. In this video, I will show you how to set up a logical and organized working structure. First, we will see how to set up a model and how to organize multiple models in a project. Then, we will have a look at the different elements of a model and how you can manipulate those. Aposphere Insight's portfolio organization is based on projects and models. You can imagine a project like being a folder on your computer. A project can thus contain multiple models or sub-projects. Typically, a project contains at least a situation analysis model and a theory of change diagram. Let us start by creating a new project by going to the Projects overview and clicking New Project. Here, you can then either start with an example or create a project with empty diagrams. We'll use the example. Give your project a title and specify who can see your content. If you want to instead create a standalone model, you can do this in the Models section by clicking New Model. We recommend, however, to use a project to group your models. Now you see that we have created an example project containing two models. Let us open one of those to see what's in there. The diagram editor allows you to edit your strategy in a visual way in order to understand and optimize impact pathways. Impact pathways are represented by boxes and connections. Use your mouse wheel or touchpad to zoom or drag the paper around using your left mouse button. The display bar at the top right contains a few more viewing options. To start editing the diagram, click one of the blue edit buttons. You can add a new box by clicking on the plus icon in the bottom right and then selecting the box type you want to add. Then drag the box to its position. To create a connection between two boxes, select a box by clicking on it and drag the connection icon in the center of the box onto another box. Some boxes may be darkened, meaning that you cannot connect to them from the selected box. You can only create conceptually logical connections. The action bar on the bottom contains a few options for the connection. Click on the plus button to add an anchor, which you can drag to the desired place if you want to. Use the action bar on the bottom to switch between curve and straight line or to change the connections type. The position of a box can be changed using drag and drop. Use the resize arrows to resize the box. As you can see, there are group boxes with other boxes inside. To move a box into a group box, first resize the group box to be large enough and then simply drag the other box into it. Double-click a box to start editing its information in the sidebar. The editing always happens in this sidebar. Here, you can change the title and description of the box or assign it to a collaborator. You'll find some more actions in this area on the top. If you are working in a project with multiple diagrams, you will likely encounter boxes which are associated to boxes in other diagrams. For example, a challenge in a situation analysis may be linked to the same impact as an outcome in a theory of change diagram. In this example theory of change diagram, you can see that the outcome is linked to the corresponding challenge in the situation analysis diagram. You can create such a link for an existing box in the top right actions area. Instead, you can also link a box upon creation using the Import button in the Add Box menu. Click on Link Boxes and select another model. Then select one or multiple boxes and click Confirm. Please note that connections and links are two completely different things. Connections represent the influence of one box to another inside the same model, whereas links mark the same box in different diagrams. Depending on the box type, you can add a name. Open the newly created goal by clicking on it in the list. As for the box, you can also edit the aim's information and assignee. Now, let us add an indicator to the aim. You can select between manual assessment and data-driven performance evaluation. Since we will cover the indicator data in another video of this series, let us for now create a manually assessed indicator. Again, you can edit the information and put an appropriate title. The context of the indicator is displayed in the top part of the sidebar. Click to get back to the respective box or aim. To organize content on yet another level, Aposphere Insight includes a tagging feature. Add tags to any element by clicking on the Add Tag button and then selecting a tag. Tags can be used for filtering, as we will see later on. As you are probably not working alone on this project, you might want to share additional insights or just ask a question to your colleagues. Open the Comments section using the dedicated button. Now you can write a comment or attach a file to the specific element you have selected, in this case to the target box. If you notify someone using the @ symbol followed by their name, they will receive a notification in their inbox. Such context-based discussion is available for most elements in Aposphere Insight, and is always scoped to the respective element. We have seen so far that you can add indicators to include quantitative information in your framework. We have also seen how to add comments to a specific element. Yet another way to add information to a diagram is by setting its status. Click on the Post First Status button, select one of the options, add a justification, and click Post. The diagram is now set to On Track. Similarly to comments, you can set a status on most elements in Aposphere Insight. We have now done a quick tour through the diagram editor, which allows you to visually edit your strategic diagram. Depending on your preferences, you may prefer to work in a more hierarchical way. This is why we created the List Editor. Switch to the List tab to open the List Editor. If the List tab is not available, you may need to activate it in the diagram settings, which you find behind the gear icon. In the list view, you see the very same content as previously in the diagram. You can work in either of the editors, and changes are always kept up to date between the two. The list editor is a hierarchical collection of all the elements in a model, namely of boxes, aims, and indicators. Use the gray arrow to show the aims and indicators of a box. If there is no gray arrow next to a box, it means that this box does not have any aims. You can also expand everything at once by clicking on Expand. You can filter which elements are displayed using the Filter button on top. For example, let us see only elements having a specific tag. As you can see, we are editing the very same content here in the list editor as before in the diagram editor. This allows you to work in the setting where you are most productive while the data behind is the same. Now let us have a look at Aposphere Insight's adaptive management workflow. As we all know, we never establish a strategy and then stick to it without any changes. Instead, a strategy typically sees several adaptations over its lifetime. This is modeled in our tool through diagram workflows. As you can see, the model we created before is still in draft mode, which is shown by the light blue dot. Once the initial version is complete, select Request Approval in the Workflow drop-down. A user with the required role can then approve or reject your changes. Once they are approved, the diagram goes into live mode, which is shown by the green color. In live mode, no changes are possible. Instead, to make changes to a live model, you have to start an adaptation. The idea is that you can work on the adaptation while your original diagram remains unaffected. Only once you are sure about your changes, they are merged back into the live diagram. Depending on the configuration of your organization, you are able to apply the adaptation by yourself or may need to request approval of one of your colleagues. To do so, select Request Approval in the Workflow drop-down. A user with the required role can then approve or reject your changes. Once they are approved, the model goes into live mode, which is shown by the green color. Thank you for watching this part of the tutorial video series on Aposphere Insight. See you in the next one.